3631 Tactical here. Today I want to talk about the fallacy regarding gross motor skills and fine motor skills when you're reloading a pistol. The reason I'm doing this video, I was watching another YouTube video today. Two guys were arguing over gross motor skills or fine motor skills in a reload. And one of the guys' arguments was, well, have you ever been shot at? Have you ever been shot at? And let me tell you first off, I've been shot at numerous times. That's not going to teach you how to shoot a gun. Getting shot at does not teach you how to reload a gun, doesn't teach you how to grip the gun, it doesn't teach you how to draw the gun out of the holster or shoot it. Getting shot at does not teach you how to shoot a gun better. So that's a weak argument if that's the best argument you got. Enough of that. Let's get right to it. If you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, fine motor skills and gross motor skills, there's the argument of when you're reloading a pistol, put your new mag in and you hit the slide stop goes forward, people say, well, this is a fine motor skill. And under the stress and pressure of being shot at or having to shoot somebody, you can't do a fine motor skill because you'll lose all the dexterity in your fingers and hands and you won't be able to do this. Everybody says you have to overhand rack it. So you put your mag in and you go like this. This is supposed to be a gross motor skill. The problem I have with that is if you're telling me that this is a fine motor skill, then what is it when I hit the magazine release? Because that's what I have to do. To get the magazine out, I got to hit the magazine release for that mag to come out. The slide stop lever and the magazine release button here are about the same size. They're almost in the same position. They're only about an inch apart from each other. And I'm using my same appendage, my thumb, to activate them. So to do this, if you're classifying that as a fine motor skill, then to hit that magazine release is also a fine motor skill. I don't really think you can argue that this is not a fine motor skill if you're going to say that this is. So that's one fine motor skill that you have to do. All right, so the next thing I have to do is get my fresh mag and put it into the gun. When I do that, all I'm basically doing is taking a square peg, sticking it into a square hole. Because if you see me, watch me put the magazine into the magazine well, how much room do I have here? How much room do I have for error? Maybe 1/8 of an inch, probably less than that. How much room is there? If I'm off by just a little bit, I'm going to get that kind of bobble thing going. You got to be exact for it to go smooth, right? So taking a square peg, sticking it into a square hole after you've already emptied a gun at somebody and they've shot at you, it's a highly stressful situation. So I'm going to say that's a fine motor skill. Square peg, square hole, why somebody's shooting at me. That's a fine motor skill as well. So the argument is always, once the mag goes in, you have to overhand rack because this is a gross motor skill. I think we've already just pretty much demonstrated that you have to do 2 fine motor skills before you even get to that part. If I hit the magazine release and we're classifying that as a fine motor skill, taking my square peg, sticking into a square hole is a fine motor skill, how come now, all of a sudden, I have to do gross motor skills, and if I don't do it, it's not going to work? That's nonsense. The way I like to reload is I like to use that slide stop. So once my magazine goes in, I orientate the gun back to the target, hit the slide stop, and the slide goes forward. To say that you have to do an overhand rack or you have to use those gross motor skills, I think people just aren't thinking about this stuff for themselves. Like I think we clearly demonstrated, if this is a fine motor skill, so is this, and so is taking that square peg and sticking it into a square hole. I like to use the slide stop lever when I'm reloading because that's faster. I think I can get back on target faster. But there's other reasons. It's not just speed. What if I have a handheld flashlight and I'm engaging a bad guy? Not everybody has a light attached to their gun. And most shootings happen in low light or even darkness. So if I have a handheld flashlight and I have to reload this gun, how do I do it? Some people say put the light in your pocket. Some people say drop it. I've even heard people say put the light in your mouth, which is kind of ridiculous. If you're holding the flashlight the right way, though, you just drop your old mag, you get your new mag. Once your new mag goes in, you use that slide stop, right? And I still have my light. I can illuminate whatever I need to illuminate, and I can get back on target quick. Can you imagine having a light in your hand, which you're going to need if it's low light or dark, trying to overhand rack a gun with a light in your hand? I'm not saying it's impossible, but that's going to be a lot harder to do than just simply doing this. The other reason is the one-handed reloads, and you can look anywhere on YouTube and there's all kind of people doing one-handed reloads where they're racking the gun off their belt, right? And that's fine if you're trained to do that or you practice doing it that way, that's fine. But one thing you have to realize, it's very easy. There's not a whole lot of room for a whole lot of margin for error. It's very easy to end up pointing the gun at your own foot, your own shin, your knee, or something when you're racking the gun like this off your belt. So the other thing with one-handed reloads, I like to, once I get the magazine back in the gun, how much easier is it to point the gun at bad guy, or even if you don't see bad guy, point the gun in a safe direction near the ground and hit the slide stop. And the slide goes forward, the gun's reloaded, without having to do all this racking it off my belt and pointing the gun at my feet or my shins or my knee. Some of the problem I have with firearms training is, I call it the regurgitation method, where like a firearms instructor tells somebody something, then that person regurgitates that, and then the next person regurgitates that to the next person, and nobody ever steps back and thinks about any of this stuff. Some firearms guy says you have to overhand wrap, you have to do this, gross motor skills, you can't do anything else. And then the next guy gives that information to the next guy and the next guy, and nobody ever steps back. Just think about some of this stuff for yourself. Be a critical thinker. Don't just, believe everything that everybody tells you. Think about some of this stuff and try it out on your own. So remember, if you're ever in a discussion or debate over firearm tactics with somebody and they ask you, have you ever been shot at? Tell them that doesn't mean a damn thing. Because remember, you can get shot at all the time, and it's not going to teach you how to reload the gun or how to get a good grip or how to present the gun to the target. You don't learn how to shoot by getting shot at. That's a really weak argument. The other thing is, be a critical thinker. When you see some of these different techniques on maybe a video or you actually go to a class, don't be afraid to ask the instructor, why? Why do I do it that way? You're not being a smart ass, you want to know why. And if he can't explain it to you, why? He's probably not a very good instructor. He probably doesn't know himself. Hey, remember, if you're interested in a quality, and I say quality, Michigan-based CPL class, check us out at 3631tactical.com. And if you want to see more videos like this, check us out at 3631tactical on YouTube. Thanks for watching.